Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Awesemo.com Live Before Lock show. We'll be talking about everything in the world of MLB today. Every single team in the league is playing. There's so much to dig through. Jake and I are wearing a very similarly colored shirt, which I didn't realize until now. But I am here. I'm Chris Spags, joined by the baseball savant himself, Jake Hari. Jake, how's it going?
It's going well. Just trying to figure out pitching all day. So that's usually how I spend most of my day, worried about the bats later and maybe try to unlock some gems as the day goes on as far as arms. But it's kind of the other way around. I think I'm pretty confident in the bats, and then pitching is pretty tough for me outside of the top three guys.
Let's talk about pitching in a second. First, let's talk weather concerns. What games are we worried about right now, if any?
Yeah, the Cincinnati game we were kind of worried about, but it looks like that one's fine. The Cubs game is the real one I think we have to worry about. And I'll pull that up as the show goes on. I'll just pull it up right now and see if I can make a call on whether or not that game's gonna play. But or you can go to your favorite DFS weatherman if you guys prefer that. But
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know that site that he belongs to, and I don't know the guy's name.
I'll try to. I'll try to do my best.
Yeah, I'm avoiding the Cubs again today. The Cubs and Dodgers, rather. I feel like that game is the one that I'm the most concerned with. There's some late-breaking stuff on a couple sites about the Colorado game with the rain there. I think now it's cleared up enough, but I saw that was yellow on Fantasy Labs before. Or I don't even know if I don't have a fake name for them because I think I like them.
Well, anyone that has good information I like, so including our
Also
site.
that.
But let's see, at Wrigley, I know the radar didn't look great, but I'll check it once again.
I guess while you check it, let's start with pitchers, because I teased Jake before we came on the air, teased him like a news tease, not like a sensual, tickling way. And I offered up, yesterday we started the stream, I offered Trevor Williams up as a pitcher who I was excited by, couldn't really figure out why. You know what happened? Trevor Williams is the best pitcher on that slate, on a value perspective. I'm trying to find the Trevor Williams of tonight. I think I might have who it is, but Jake, who are you looking at overall first?
So I think it starts with Sale for me. I wrote him up in the spotlight pitchers. I just think that the Twins are pretty bad against lefties. I mean, Sale's just a phenomenal pitcher. He's on the road. It's decent pitching weather actually for June here in Minneapolis. A little bit of wind blowing in, which is nice. Verlander, he's 1A. Say if Sale's 1, he's 1A. I wouldn't have a big issue if someone said that they like Verlander over Sale. And then sort of after that, there's Clevinger, who I like, but he's just kind of in an awkward price range by himself. And then there's a bunch of guys that I like in the mid-range. It's Derek Rodriguez, it's Freddie Peralta, it's Domingo Herman, and then all the way down to like Jeffrey Rodriguez. I think we talked about him a little bit this morning, just a matchup play against Baltimore. Baltimore, you can stream pitchers against them. It's been pretty profitable all year. And both Rodriguez's look fine to me, but Jeffrey looks like, nothing special, but just the matchup is so good, and Vegas is behind him, a 185 favorite. For 6K, less than 6K on DraftKings, I don't know what's not to like.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw it out there. My cheap guy, Paul Blackburn. I think he doesn't look great overall. A small sample size, though. He had one really bad outing, one okay outing versus a team who I think is a little better than the Padres are. Again, like you mentioned, the Orioles, playing pitchers against the Padres has not been an unprofitable move either. So I have too much Paul Blackburn right now. He's going to be my undoing tonight, but he is the guy who I am eyeing up. I felt like I had maybe 33% Trevor Williams all in yesterday, and I kind of felt bad about it because I like Trevor Williams enough. I felt like nobody was on him. Then at 2.5%, he does like that. So I'm trying to get that tonight with Blackburn, and I'm chasing the feeling of having Trevor Williams on my side. I like Blackburn, though. I think he looks okay, and the Padres more so look bad.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be the case for Blackburn. I didn't get there myself, but I understand why you would. He had a really rough start. I believe it was against Houston in his last start.
Yes, yeah, Houston beat him up bad.
I mean, that's forgivable, right? Like Houston's tough, especially when they're hitting like how they are. This is not the same kind of team, but I still don't think Blackburn is great. So on the road here, yeah, it's a good park. I can't do it. Like, did you see the ownership for some of these cheap guys? I didn't even mention them, but
there are. I mean, so some of the guys, like somebody in the chat mentioned Sal Romano. Like, so that's sort of where I'm coming in with it, is that I think Blackburn can do better than Sal Romano versus the Padres. Like, I just don't think Sal Romano's that good. Like, I have a couple lines to Sal Romano, but like also Eric Lauer, Cy Young winner Eric Lauer. Like, those guys being Romano and Lauer being highly owned. Like, I'd rather roll the dice with one of those other guys, like in the Blackburn, you know, the Jeffrey or Derek Rodriguez, either of the Rodriguez boys. I don't know. Like, if people are going to go to those really cheap guys, I'd rather go a little more expensive and a pitcher who's maybe better, or at least that we know is not awful.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see myself ever playing Lauer or Sal Romano if they're going to be even like close to what we have them projected at. So those guys are just off the table for me, and I will not lose sleep about it. If one of them has a good performance, I'll just move on to the next slate. If they score 20 plus or something, and they're the key to unlocking the slate nuts. But yeah, I just don't believe in either of those two guys as pitchers, and definitely not at like healthy ownership. So I agree. I'd rather take a chance with any of those guys that are close to him. So my guy, both Rodriguez's, and then even like Felix Pena. Is it Pena or Pena? I don't know. Does he have the Enye?
I assume it's an Enye, but I feel like we never, like, they always omit the Enyes on sites because they don't want to have the incorrect labeling or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's Pena, yeah.
Okay. I'd even rather go Jason Hamill. I mentioned him earlier today. Kind of talked myself into
Hamill
tiny
and Blackburn.
piece. Yeah. What's that?
Like, that's what I don't get quite as much. Like, I feel like that's where we are with, I mean, especially with Blackburn, but I think a couple of other pitchers where people are like, yeah, you know, maybe I could do Lauer, maybe I could do Jason Hamill, maybe I could do, like, whoever, I forget who the third guy is in that tier, or Romano. Like, I think people know these pitchers are bad, and if you're holding your nose with the pitcher, I just feel like Blackburn, to me at least, is something of an unknown quantity, and I think he might have a little more upside than he's shown, and maybe some regression.
Right. If we're gonna pay for a low price pitcher,
we know what Lauer is for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna pay for a low price pitcher, and you don't believe in any of them, then might as well go with the one that's gonna be lower owned, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm not on Lauer, I'm not on Romano, and that's a pretty easy call for me for both of them.
How are you affording, let's say, what stacks are you looking at, but also how are you affording Chris Sale or even Clevenger with your stacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm not really like that much. I have a bunch of Sale, so he's kind of the guy that I'm making my stand on. A bunch of Sale, a little bit of Verlander, I'll have a little bit of Clevenger, but mostly focused on Sale, and then just like a smattering of the Rodriguez brothers. I know they're not brothers, but we'll call them brothers for this. Domingo Herman, and then Freddie Peralta. I'm just going to mix those guys in. And Vince Velasquez, but he's kind of a higher price. I didn't mention him off the top, but 8,600, I think that's fine. Really boomer bust pitcher, boomer bust spot for Velasquez.
Yeah, Peralta. So I heard you guys talk about Peralta a little, and I think, Jake, you were more in on him than Josh was this morning. Peralta, I think, is interesting. Like, he grades out really well in a numbers perspective. He got rocked in that last game, but overall, he's got some of the better numbers. I mean, small sample size again, on the slate. I think he's interesting. The one thing that worries me is that Pittsburgh doesn't strike out a lot, and I feel like they do make it tough on pitchers. That said, though, I do think he's in a good spot. I have a little more of him than I probably should. I feel like he's a guy who's kind of like Herman, where he's kind of an unknown quantity, so maybe people will be a little more afraid of him. And for that reason, I think he might be a little more interesting than he would be otherwise.
Right, yeah. So I like Peralta. I just think he's pretty talented. His whiffs are insane right now, probably not sustainable, but it's just crazy how high his whiff rate is in his first couple starts. So that's going to get my attention right away, and it's not a great matchup. Like you said, Pittsburgh doesn't really strike out that much, but I don't feel great about anyone other than the top 3 guys, and I can't play Sale and Verlander lineups. I got to get different with my 150, so it's tough.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more on Clevenger than Sale tonight on the high end. I just think Sale, the Twins to me are one of those teams who I feel like can do some damage even in a spot where Vegas isn't on them. They don't obviously. Sale looks like one of the better pitchers on the slate. To me, I think Clevenger versus a worse team feels a little safer. A worse team who happen to just have dominated not that long ago.
Yeah.
So I'm a little more okay with Clevenger. But let's talk about stacks. Where are we going tonight? Obviously, the Rockies are going to be a very popular place. A lot of people will be chasing the Mets again tonight and back in Coors Field one more time. Where are you going stack-wise?
Yeah, love the Yankees, love the Nationals. I didn't rank my stacks, but those are the 2 that I think I like the most. And then Texas, obviously, you got to mention them. And Coors Field, I kind of left Coors Field out, but those are probably my favorites. And then the Angels are in there as well. And then I like Oakland a little bit. If Lauer, I seriously can't see Lauer being that highly owned, but if he is, I'll have some bats against him. So Oakland mini stacks.
You mentioned the Angels. I like the Angels too. I think as I worry about the Angels, and I've noticed this a couple times when I've stacked them recently, they don't really get a lot of production outside of Trout. And sometimes you'll have a Kinsler home run or something, but I feel like it's a stack that they don't actually perform as well. I don't know if there's any sort of data reason why. Maybe Trout just carries so much of the offensive load that he just takes a lot off the table or something like that. But I feel like I've stacked them a couple of times and not been crazy about it. Obviously, I think Trout as a one-off looks great. Cook on the other side is a guy you want to go after. The wind's blowing out. A lot of positive things. I'm just trying, another low-owned stack, I feel like that might have some value. Well, actually, I don't know if it's going to be low-owned. Let me see. The Nationals really look good to me, across the board. I think they've looked good a lot the last few days, but I also think the lineup change might help with Harper. Harper's been a little behind lately. Maybe getting those guys on base, I don't know, will motivate him in some way. Will narrative him into being a better play tonight.
Yeah, I love the Nationals against David Hess. So you're speaking my language with the Nats bats there. That lineup's just super scary. And then Hess he's okay. I think we talked about him being he's not the worst pitcher in the world, but definitely not going to strike a lot of guys out. And the Nats are going to be putting the ball in play. And I just think they have a bunch of really good hitters, 1 through 6 really. So love me some Nats.
Yeah, I think the Nats look really good tonight. We've talked about Hess a couple times, and I think we've generally said how those Orioles teams, all those pitchers seem to fit a similar criteria. They'll either have a great day or they'll get rocked. I think it's a night where Hess gets rocked. And I think also the Nationals lineup is pretty interesting, pretty much from 1 to 7. Yeah, I think 1 to 7. Are you going to Coors Field tonight again, knowing that the Mets are going to be popular after they put up so many runs yesterday, and obviously a lot of touting of the Rockies tonight?
Yeah, how do you avoid the Rockies? Against Jason Vargas, one of the best stacks of the night. He just gives up a bunch of hard hits, and he can strike guys out at times, but this is Coors. It's a little bit different animal. And then Arenado and Story just rake in Coors against lefties. They seem like they're automatic, especially Arenado. And you're gonna have to pay a premium for them. But if you're not going up to Sale or Verlander, you could probably fit in a 4 or 5 man Rocky stack if you're using some of these cheap pitchers we talked about.
Yeah, I think that the middle infielders for Colorado are particularly interesting. But even Ian Desmond, I think might be a little lower owned, and you can get him into first base or outfield. So there's some positional flexibility. Iannetta in at catcher, I think, is an interesting spot as well. I agree the Rockies are a tough stack to avoid. I think there are it is possible to kind of get caught up in it. I know the match with Vargas is really appealing. Vargas is even worse on the road. In Coors, there's a lot of multipliers there. That said, I do wonder if maybe the Rockies and Mets have a little too much heat on them, where it might be better to have less exposure to them, just because everybody's going to be there, and there are 28 other teams available besides that game.
Right. So recency bias, right? So they were the top stack on a 9-game slate or whatever. Now there's 12 more teams, right? 15 games. So I mean, they have a good chance to be a top stack, relatively good chance, probably the best chance if you go by the Vegas run totals. But or talking about Colorado and the Mets not far behind, but still, they might come in a little bit over-owned if they're some of the guys where they're at in our ownership projections, at least.
How about how do you feel about Atlanta tonight? Because they're another team who I feel like grades out pretty well. Somebody asked about Kurt Suzuki. I think they have two catchers who are pretty viable with Suzuki and Flowers. I think the Braves are a sneaky stack tonight. Garcia is kind of one of those guys who could go either way. He might be competent, and he might actually be a part of a viable, pitching SP2 kind of thing on DraftKings. But I think going against the Braves, I like, Albies. I think Swanson looks good. Freeman, Flowers or Suzuki, and then Camargo down in the 9-hole. All those guys look really good to me, and I wonder if the Braves might be one of the sneaky stacks tonight that kind of pulls ahead.
Yeah, did I not mention the Braves? I like them against Jaime. Jaime can be okay at times, but he does give up some hard contact to righties. Not someone you're scared of striking out a ton of guys. And then the Braves are just one of the best teams against lefties. They're one of the best offenses around. So, at least according to my stuff. So, Swanson, Flowers, Suzuki, and then I don't mind Freeman or Markakis or Tyler Flowers either. So, and then of course you got all these at the top of the lineup. So, like the Braves.
Yeah. So, Shark asking what stack is a dark horse. I think the Braves might be my dark horse stack. I would guess. I mean, I don't know if the Nationals count. I feel like their ownership isn't high enough, but it would either be the Braves or the Nationals for me.
I mean, I don't know if the Nationals are going to be. They're not going to go under-owned, are they here?
They are. They have a couple guys like Turner. I think we have as being 10%, but some of those parts are going to be Soto. We have, which actually I find hard to believe. I feel like Soto's going to be a little higher owned after all this hype around the home run. But Soto is being projected at 3%. If you're a premium member of Awesemo.com, you can go check it out. If you're not a premium member, go sign up so you can see all the things that we reference for ownership projections up bright and early whenever Jake and Josh do their video. So you have stuff to work with throughout the day. But yeah, Soto at 3% is what we have. Harper, I think, also under 10. Yeah, Harper at 5. Trey Turner, I think, is the highest owned one at 10.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, to me, like that is under-owned. I would think compared to going against Baltimore and how great of a spot it looks like for pretty much all those guys. Your boy Daniel Murphy looks great. I feel like all those guys look really good.
Yeah, Murphy is yet to really go off, but this is as good of a time as I don't know. He just seems like he's been a little bit rusty so far, but that's sort of expected after missing the first couple months of the season. So I have faith in him. And then I just really love the batters around him, so he should be hitting with guys on base, which is nice.
Is this chat read, or do they read another website's chat? What are you talking about, Ryan McGee? We read the chat. There's the only. I guess we have a chat on Twitch, but I don't actually check that anymore because I don't think anybody goes on that. But we are reading your chat, Ryan McGee. So just not maybe answering everything at this point. Where is the Chubster? Josh is only on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday is where the Handsome Boys Club, Jake and I, come together and wear similar outfits and debate shitty pitchers. That's the special relationship that we have. Let's see. How about the Reds? We haven't talked much about them. There were some weather concerns you mentioned earlier. They're not getting a ton of love today, but I think the Reds look pretty interesting. Yeah,
I think they're fine. Boyd is kind of frustrating to stack against. I really, really love Eugenio Suarez, but there's kind of a lot of lefties mixed in here, so I'm not really on the Reds. I think they're fine as a secondary stack, but I won't have much of them as full stacks. I'm going to be getting a bunch of Suarez, a little bit of Duvall, and then pretty much calling it good from there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're better as like a three-man with, Votto, Suarez. I would go Duvall over Jeanette. Just because I think Duvall has that kind of GPP upside and power. But either of those guys I think is okay. But yeah, it's 5-man. I mean, if you wanted to go Peraza or Barnhart, I think you could. Peraza gets on base at okay clip, doesn't strike out a ton. He's an okay guy. I don't have speed numbers in front of me, but I assume he's pretty fast.
Barnhart?
So, I don't know. Peraza.
Oh yeah, Peraza's fast.
So I mean, yeah, I think there could be some upside there with going with a 5-man with Peraza, and then Votto to Duvall. But I'm intrigued. Suarez looks so good to me where I wanted to force that stack, but I just kind of didn't get there enough.
Yeah. I mean, I love him. He comes out as one of the best hitters against lefties for the season. So he's just crushing everything. So I love him against Boyd. I think he should be able to hit him well.
With one lineup, what is your must-have stack tonight? If you were playing a single entry, I guess.
Man, with one lineup, I would go. I mean, Josh and we were running his crunch, and there was this really nice Yankees Nationals stack with most of the good parts in it. So that would be one of the options I would consider. That's a good question. I would probably fade the Rangers if I was playing one lineup. So I'll say that. I'd probably fade the Rangers. Probably would fade Coors, actually, as well.
I probably would play Coors if I were doing a single entry just because I think that Arenado, LeMahieu, Story group is too good. But I would maybe try... For me, I'd probably go cheaper at pitcher and go with a Yankee and try to go super contrarian, go with a Yankees, I don't know, Rocky stack. Because I think the Yankees look really good tonight. Obviously, they're always expensive. I think that would be interesting to me. But one of those two teams I think would be mine for a single entry. But it's tough. I feel like single entries are tough on a slate like this size. Having to choose between 30 teams that you want to stack for a single entry, that's definitely why I kind of felt like I was missing out when I was just doing one entry for a while there.
Yeah, it's really, really tough in any sport when there's this many options. So, and this kind of volatility in the sport. But the good thing about single entry is that when your one lineup hits and you have a big cash and you do it in multiple tournaments, it's really fun. It's a really cool looking screenshot, and it can make up for the whole season. So
that is true. What about on FanDuel? What would you do at pitcher? I don't have any clue about FanDuel. I can pull up the rankings, but what would you do at pitcher tonight? I feel like in general, Josh's rule of thumb is to always pay up at pitcher because you only have one pitcher and the difference is often pretty palpable.
Yeah, I mean,
so I feel like I probably want to pay for Clevenger, but I don't know.
I'd love to get in one of the top three. I think if I wasn't going to one of the top three, it might be Erman after that. 7,600. I think he's just a really good pitcher, and he's 7,600. He's got some upside. It's a tough matchup, but he had a 29% swinging strike rate, or 28.6 or something. We talked about it this morning. That's a number you just never see out of a guy that just comes up. So, yeah, like Herman, and then FanDuel would be tough. I'm not playing on FanDuel tonight, so I'd try to get one of those top three in, or maybe Domingo Herman as a flyer.
I could see going Peralta as a flyer, but yeah, I agree. I would probably try to go with the top three. I just think that they're far and ahead the best, and from what I know of FanDuel, you want to have a guy who's going to be that good. So I'd probably be more into one of those guys for FanDuel.
Sure.
Would you go Blackburn or Jeffrey Rodriguez on FanDuel? I don't think you should go either of those on FanDuel, Noah Rosen, at least from what I know. But for me, it would be Blackburn, I guess.
Yeah. I'd go Rodriguez. I mean, I probably would avoid trying to play too much of them on FanDuel just because you need a big score. And I think the reason I like Jeffrey Rodriguez on DK is because he's low priced and he's going up against the Orioles. I don't think he's got 20-point upside even. If he gets you 16, 17, something like that, you're just thrilled. But it's more of a price and a matchup play than believing in him having huge upside here.
Yeah, I agree. I think you gotta make some room, I think, on FanDuel to pay for one of the better guys. I would be I wouldn't feel great having just one pitcher and having it be, a Blackburn or Jeffrey.
Right. Yeah, that's really tough.
Who are the guaranteed sneaky dongs? We don't have guaranteed dongs, but we can do our dong pick. I assume Josh is taking the day off again to preserve his record as best he can as he clings to the now one-game disadvantage. He is behind me, or one home run disadvantage. But Jake, who would you go tonight if you were picking a home run? Who was your dong pick?
Yeah, I mean, I called this morning that Trout was going to homer off Matt Cook, but that's too easy. So I'll take Eugenio Suarez off of Matt Boyd.
To be clear, I think you can take Trout because we've proven that like it's not always the case, even if it's in a perfect spot. So I would say I would allow it if you wanted to take Trout.
No, I'm going with Eugenio. I think he dongs.
All right. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with a guy who you know what? No, I can't not pick against Hess. I'm going with Bryce Harper to get out of his slump and hit a home run. I mean, great player, but he's been cold. I feel like maybe Hess is the thing to get him on track. I feel bad though picking Harper. Like I would have rather you pick Trout so that I could pick Harper with a better conscience. But Harper has been cold for hitting home runs, so I feel like it's okay.
No, I mean I'll allow it. I don't care. I mean,
okay. Thanks, Jake. I feel like this is the cool room where we don't judge each other's picks quite as much. Whereas with Josh, occasionally it becomes a bit of a thing, a bit of a pickle to work through. Yeah, Bryce Harper, get back on track for me tonight, buddy. Let's see, favorite DK catcher tonight.
Favorite DK catcher. It'd probably be Suzuki or Flowers, and I'd probably give the edge towards Flowers. Just batting, he's been a little better against lefties than Suzuki. Suzuki was nasty against lefties last year, and Flowers has kind of taken him over a little bit this year. But either one of those guys are awesome plays, so I'll have a lot of those too.
I would say Gary Sanchez probably first for me, and it's not a crazy pick or anything. Second behind him, I think Max Stassi's an interesting spot. Yeah, I think he's very good versus lefties. Let me pull up his numbers. But he's got a ton of power versus lefties. I think Snell is a good pitcher, but I think he's a beatable pitcher. And I think especially down at that part of the order, Stassi on base 361, isolated power of 284, BABIP 362, so he's right there. I don't know, he doesn't strike out a ton versus lefties either. I think that he's got a pretty good shot at being both a decent downside play or having a decent floor, but also could get you a home run or two. I don't know, I don't love targeting Snell, but I think if we're looking for a catcher, it's going to be maybe a little different. I think Stassi's your guy.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to get different. I mean, we talked about the Astros stack a little bit this morning. Anytime you can get a low-owned Astros stack against any lefty, it should be somewhat appealing, but I capped them very low. I really respect Snell. I capped Snell really low, so I don't know if I'll even end up with any of him because he didn't grade out well against Houston because no one does. But yeah, so I just wanted to say, if you're not as high on Snell as some of us are, then maybe consider the Astros stack, but I wouldn't say it's even in the top 7 or 8 for me.
Yeah, I think that there's. Oh, you might be locking up. Okay, there we go.
No, there we go.
Yeah, I think there's some risk with Snell going against Snell, and but that said, the Astros are so good versus lefties, and I think Snell, in certain matchups, he did well versus the Red Sox, who were pretty bad versus lefties. He can rise to the occasion versus good bats, who I think are weak versus lefties. But the Astros are not weak versus lefties, so I think if you are going to go against them tonight, is probably a night to do it. I didn't do it enough, but now that I'm looking at it. That's one of those things where I feel like I'm looking at it now and I wish I had more Astros right now. Let's see, Michael Kowalski, I was drunk 2 weeks ago and played a $3 WNBA qualifier, an accident. He won a $200 entry. He reads the Osmos WNBA rankings, but man, he has no clue. Sometimes it's that easy for some of these sports that people don't really know that well. So you are a member of the site, or I don't even know if you have to be for WNBA, but check out the rankings, check out the projections. They do help out a lot with your lineup construction. Let's see. What stack would you say has the highest likelihood of failing tonight? That's going to be a popular one.
I think Texas, honestly. Now with no Gallo, no Odor in that lineup, that's a little bit less power. They still have power. I don't think they're a bad play at all, but for their ownership, I think they're going to be substantially higher owned than they should be. So, Texas.
I would probably go with Texas as well. I mean, Hamill, not a terrifying pitcher on the other side. It's very similar to Ian Kennedy last night. but I just feel like Texas is not going to do what they did last night. So, and they're probably have an ownership that'll back out what they did last night.
Right.
So I would also agree with Texas.
Yeah. So over-owned, I think we both agree that Texas is going to be a little bit over-owned.
Yep, I agree. I think I think it's like I think they still can do well, but they just shouldn't be as owned as they're going to be.
Exactly.
So flip that. How does it make you feel about Hamill? I'm not playing any Hamill at all. I didn't want to go there tonight. So, and I also have another shitty pitcher who I fell in love with in Paul Blackburn. So that's why. Jake, how much Hamill do you have, if any?
Yeah, very, very little Hamill. I would not be playing a lot of Hamill at all if I was anyone. He's 5K. He's been a little bit better lately, and Texas lets you miss bats, even if you haven't been. So I like to see Hamill pitching better and going deeper into games. And, if he gets ahead of these Texas hitters, he's going to be able to put away, especially that bottom of the lineup with Chirinos, Guzman, and Delino DeShields. So I could see him having a solid start, and he's just, as a pivot to what could be Lauer chalk, what could be Sal Romano chalk, I think that's a fine play because he should not be substantially lower owned than those guys, in my opinion.
That's fair. Do you like the Washington pitcher tonight? Talking about Jeffrey Rodriguez. I don't like him, and actually, now that I'm looking at his numbers again, I feel like an asshole for playing him. So he has the worst xFIP on the slate. I think it's a limited sample size, so I don't want to go crazy in hammering him. Worst xFIP on the slate. Worst at giving up medium contact. He doesn't give up enough. Worst at giving up hard contact. He gives up way too much. So he's okay at getting swinging strikes, but not a great K rate. I think there's a lot of risk in Jeffrey. I'm playing him, but there is risk in him. So I don't think, if you can avoid him, I would try to go elsewhere. And I have a couple times where I made sure I got Blackburn in because that's how little I believe in Jeffrey. Just to have the same mirror lineup, but with Blackburn instead of Jeffrey. So I think there's some risk in Jeffrey, and I worry a little bit about it. But Jake, 1 to 10, if Jeffrey Rodriguez were gonna have your life in his hands tonight, how good would you feel about trotting him out there as your pitcher?
If it was my life, I don't know. I kind of like living, so I'd feel about 3. It depends on what you need out of him. If you needed 10 points out of him, I'd feel pretty good. If you needed 18, I would feel pretty bad. So just depends what you need from him. If you need him to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate, then absolutely not. And I'd be very worried for my life. But
that's fair. For DK at 3K for a catcher, who would you pick? So it's actually a pretty fertile ground for catchers at 3,000 to 2,900 price point. For me, I as a one-off, I guess. No, because he's going against Verlander, so I don't even want to go with Ramos. And I don't think the Cubs game is going to play, so I wouldn't go with Barnes. I guess Chirinos. Go against Hamill.
Yeah, Chirinos is fine. Man, there's just not much down here.
There are many guys to pick from, but none of whom are great.
Grayson Grenier. This guy's batting 6th against Sal Romano. I don't mind him. He grades out well for me. I don't know much about him besides he comes up decently in my projections. So
Grayson Grenier, 313 on base, 103 ISO, 350 BABIP. Looks okay, sure, yeah. And he also shares a name with Adrian Grenier. I think actually maybe missing a letter, but still. So good juju there for Grayson. I think that's fine. If you like Entourage, play Grayson Grenier. Do you like the Blue Jays tonight? Apparently we have them as being a fairly highly owned stack on FanDuel. What do you think about the Blue Jays?
I mean, I think Soroka is fine. So this one I haven't looked into too deep. I kind of crossed off Toronto pretty early as one of my main stacks. I'll have some Curtis Granderson, but as a stack, I don't really see it against Soroka.
I agree. I think Soroka's graded out pretty well for me. He's got one of the better xFIPs on the slate. Doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. Is pretty good at getting the medium contact. So I think I'm all right with him overall. I think I played Grichuk on one one-off just because he fit the price. And I feel like maybe there is a chance that they have guys who can hit home runs off of Soroka, but I like Soroka more than I dislike him, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right. He's just like a whatever guy for me, and so are the Toronto Bats. So I don't have a strong.
Yeah, I'm not dying to play either.
Yeah.
Let's see. Suarez over Arenado today? Possibly. Arenado still grades out way too well for me, where I would even advocate like fading him. I just think that core stack looks too good to avoid, but you got to try to think about other ways. So sure, playing Suarez is one way to get off of that.
Suarez will be lower owned. So if you're going with game theory, I mean, I think they grade out similarly. Obviously, you have the Coors Field environment that Arenado gets to hit in. So I would give the advantage to him if I was just projecting raw points, but I think there's a decent chance that Suarez outscores him. So, like, I think there's a decent chance that Suarez double dongs. So, I mean, I think they both could. Like, they're both phenomenal plays.
Yep, I agree. Let's see. Pitcher Peralta on DK. Do we like him? I like him. I would just mute your exposure to him because he is kind of a high volatility player from where I sit. But Jake, how would you handle Peralta?
Yeah, he's definitely risky on the road. If he's not getting those strikeouts against the Pittsburgh Bats, then he could be in some trouble. Pittsburgh has some power with Dickerson and Moran and Bell and Cervelli, so definitely not an easy matchup for Peralta, but someone that I'll have a decent amount of exposure to, and I'm over the field on him, which it doesn't really take much to get over the field on him. So I like him as a pitcher, so I'll be playing a bunch of them.
Yeah, I think if you were going to play him against like a team like Pittsburgh who doesn't strike out a lot, the fact that he's getting a pretty good swinging strike rate so far, I mean, I think that he can miss those bats, and they haven't seen him before, so I think that might be a benefit to playing Peralta tonight. I'm comfortable enough to play him. I just wouldn't go crazy with him because, you know, volatility, high volatility. Let's see. What are both of your names on DK and FanDuel? I'm Chris Spags on everything.
I'm Tommy Nation 1.
Sorry, Jake has a weird name.
It's because my school was the Tommies, so I don't know why, but I made it in college, so a few years ago.
I remember your explanation. Still doesn't change the fact that it's a weird name.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's yeah, but you know, that's the story.
It's fine. It's who you are. It's who you are. Can't judge. Who would you play tonight instead of Devin Mesoraco on DK at catcher? I don't know what price Mesoraco is.
Instead of Mesoraco,
yeah.
Let me see his price. I can't find him.
Yeah, I don't know what his price is. I don't know what his price is offhand. I would try to get up to Iannetta, personally.
Where's Mesoraco? All right, now I gotta find him. Well, Mesoraco is not in the lineup, so.
Right. I guess he's subbing him out now that he sees that he's not in the lineup.
Okay. Yeah, it's Plawecki, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong there?
Yeah, Plawecki. Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay. Oh, he's subbing out. I see. You have 3,700 at catcher. I like Suzuki and Flowers, so that's a pretty easy pivot to me.
Ooh. Yeah, you're right. I would actually probably go Suzuki or Flowers. I still wouldn't mind going up to Iannetta, but if you're at that exact price point, yep, Suzuki or Flowers is fine.
Absolutely.
Any weather concerns? I guess has anything changed for us weather-wise? I'm still not playing Cubs or Dodgers personally. Everything else I'm all right with. Jake, anything you're seeing?
Yeah, Chicago looks a little dicey. So, I got burned by it last night, and I'm not crazy about the spot either way. So I may just end up avoiding that one altogether.
I would play Dodgers if it weren't a rainy day. I think Montgomery's not that great. Dodgers lineup does look kind of interesting for me, not from a Vegas perspective, but from a lineup perspective. But yeah, no, I'm not playing Cubs tonight. Last night I got off of them after we did the stream. I actually got off the Dodgers rather, but yeah, I don't like that rain. Even though they got a game off, I'm a little worried about that.
Right.
Let's see. Anything else to chat? We got 20 minutes left, so give us your hardest hitting questions that you've always wanted to know about 15 games going on tonight at once. See, anybody that you're feeling less confident about now that we're talking about it?
Me? Or you asking chat? Oh, okay. Let's see. I mean, this is a weird pitching slate for me. So anytime I don't feel great about the pitching, I don't feel great about the slate in general. I feel okay about the stacks. Like, I've got it zeroed in, not zeroed out. I've got like 7 or so stacks that I'm gonna be very heavy on, and then, yeah, man, I don't know. Nothing's really changed that much for me since this morning.
Yeah, I do feel like just looking at it again, I really am gonna. This is gonna be this way anyway, but Paul Blackburn, I'm starting to worry about. but besides that, not even that like I'm worried about him as much as I am worried about that construction of having a guy who's like sub 5,500 with a guy who's like mid-priced. Like, I think the fact that all the ownership is going towards Lauer, going towards Romano, I think it makes sense to go with Blackburn in that perspective rather. But I'm wondering if maybe the move is like to go with like a Hamels and Peralta, and then try to like figure out the rest. I don't know. I think maybe we're ignoring that middle price tier of pitchers too much.
Yeah, I like Velasquez in that mid tier. I just didn't end up with him because a lot of my lineups are not like I didn't need a guy at that price, and I prioritized Sale and bats first, like Sale, Herman, and Jeffrey Rodriguez. So, yeah, and the other Rodriguez as well. So, I don't know, man. I did kind of ignore that mid tier as well, and that might be a mistake, but.
Yeah, like I'm thinking, especially on a slate this big, the fact that this many people are going in a kind of different. I mean, going in that sort of particular line of construction, rather, where it's going to be, Clevenger, Sale, and then whatever, bullshit Romano tier guy. I don't know, man. It's starting to worry me a little bit that I didn't think about it enough. Like, think about a contrarian approach from the top down, because I think you kind of fall into a trap sometimes. This is, I guess, where if you're making your lineups, maybe look at those guys who are between 9,000 and 7,000 more would be my tip.
Mm.
Let's see. Oh, the Giants lineup has been confirmed. Anything important there? Alan Hansen's in. No Kelby Tomlinson tonight. That's sad. But Alan Hansen is in.
No Kelby Tomlinson.
Spencer Singleton. If you're being a troll, like, don't pull that troll shit, dude. I'll just ban you. Don't do that. Let's see. Finishing off a 5-man Rocky stack, would you go Ian Desmond, Carlos Gonzalez, or Chris Iannetta? I would go both Desmond and Iannetta in 2 lineups personally.
Say that again. Place or
finishing off a 5-man Rocky stack, which of these guys would you choose, Desmond, Gonzalez, or Iannetta? I would skip Gonzalez entirely and just play 2 lineups with Desmond and Iannetta.
Yeah, I think I would go Iannetta, actually. Yeah.
I think I always miss on Desmond, like including the other day when he had 2 home runs. So I think that for me, there is some degree of risk in not playing Desmond and then being like, shit, I had the Rocky stack and didn't have Ian Desmond. And I feel like that is a common feeling I've had this year. So
well, that's just DFS.
Try to play 2.
Yeah,
that's play 1 with one of each. That's true. That is DFS in general. You're right. Yeah. Which Rodriguez pitcher would you prefer?
I think I've moved over to Jeffrey. Just a better matchup. Like, Baltimore is so bad, and Rodriguez looks okay, and he's lower priced. So I think I'm more on Jeffrey than Dierek.
I think I would go for Dierek with a C and a K, just because I think there's more strikeouts to be found on that Marlins side. Yeah. Actually, no. You know what? Then that's not the reason why. Then I think just Jeffrey has more of a risk profile. Like, Jeffrey gives up a lot of hard contact, and I kind of worry about that. And his xFIP is the worst on the slate. So I just would worry that Jeffrey is not a great pitcher. But Derek is going against a worse team, so I would feel better about Derek.
Okay.
I think. It's close, though. The Rodriguez boys are pretty close.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see. What is the dinging I keep hearing? Are you dinging? I'm not dinging.
That could be from me getting alerts or like text messages or something.
Oh, look at Mr. Popular here getting his text.
Yeah, totally.
Not reading his phone.
So popular.
How about a Royal stack tonight? That's not one we've talked about, but obviously, they are against another pitcher who does occasionally get rocked.
Royal stack against Cole Hamels. I'm sort of off the stack against Cole Hamels thing. It has not treated me well this year. Even though he's giving up a lot of hard contact to righties, he just goes deep. And, I think you can play Salvador Perez, Merrifield, or Hunter Dozier, but that would be where I would cut it off. I'm not interested in Escobar, Almonte, or Herrera at 7, 8, and 9, or Alex Gordon at 6. So.
I'm never into the Royals. They're one of those teams who, I feel like I've tried to force stacks with before because they've been in spots where you're like, oh, yeah, the Royals should crush here. I think that affected, like you said, I think Hamels hasn't been as bad as people have thought. Make me not want to go to the Royals. But, that's how I feel about it. I'm not crazy about it. And I never am. Let's see. People in on Blackburn. Boy, Blackburn's going to be a worrisome guy for me today. But I thought about Trevor Williams, and it worked out. So we're trying to ride that good juju, and it'll probably blow up in my face poetically tonight. German and Pinder or Hamill and Trout for a DK GPP?
Let me look at the chat. Herman and Pinder. I would go Herman and Pinder. I just don't think Hamill has the upside. And then I actually love Pinder tonight. So I would go those two guys rather than take my chances with Hamill if I had to choose. But, Trout is just nuts. He's a guaranteed 10 points every night, it seems like.
Yeah, I feel like if you're doing a one-off lineup, I would rather do Hamill and Trout. But I think if you're I would try to stick if you're getting the Pinder. Pinder as a one-off to me isn't a play that I would be dying to make. But I don't know. Honestly, neither. But probably Hamill and Trout.
Okay.
Because, just Trout, I think Trout's got the best upside. I feel like if Trout were responsible for all 5 runs tonight for the Angels that Vegas is predicting, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right, I would never be surprised Trout's doing that. The guy's nuts.
Is Paulo Orlando a good play today as a value?
He's fine betting second against Hamels, but I'm not going out of my way to do it. If he's the last guy in, then sure, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to play Orlando.
Yeah, again, we talked about we don't feel like Hamels is that terrible of a play. So I think Orlando looks okay, and I think from a price perspective, he makes sense. And he gets on base, so sure, he's okay. But not a play, like Jake said, I'd be excited about. Who are the Dong picks? Jake, who was your pick again?
Suarez, Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio Suarez, and I am going with Bryce Harper. So those are the picks. We got no Chubster pick tonight. The Chubster is not available. Giving his Dong pick in the chat, unfortunately. Just sad because he's been on a hot streak for the most part, but maybe he's getting his head. He hasn't gotten the last 2 right on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows. So Josh is no get rattled as Chubsters do. Let's see. I'd like Romano more if Martin and Castellanos weren't on fire. Yeah, I still wouldn't like Romano. I don't like Romano at all, ever.
I don't ever either, so I just can't do it when he's going to be owned, or really ever, but definitely not when he's going to be owned.
Yeah, I get the logic, and there are some strikeouts on the Tigers side, but I don't think Romano's the guy to get him. I don't think so. Let's see. Would you go Aaron Hicks or Juan Soto?
Aaron Hicks or Juan Soto? Oh, that is tough. I would. I'd probably go Soto. That's really close.
Yeah, I'd probably go Soto too. Hicks being in the leadoff spot is a nice benefit, but the one thing with Soto though, I really do think he's going to be higher on than we ever projected for. I just feel like that home run was everywhere, and I think a lot of people, and you guys, Josh talked about it yesterday on the stream to me, talked about it to you this morning on the stream. I feel like it's one of those things that people are going to play Soto more, expecting him to be to hit it again, and he's going to go 0 for 4, and then it's going to be oh yeah, you should have played, I don't know, Adam Eaton in your stack instead.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. Will Hicks be lower owned than Soto?
Let's see.
I have a bunch of both of them, so it doesn't really matter, but
Hicks we have at 14%, and then Soto's still at 3, unless it might have updated, but yeah, currently we have Hicks being projected for a ownership, so I think that would definitely make me go Soto. I find it hard to believe it's going to be 3%. That's just me, though.
okay.
I think Osmo knows better.
Yeah.
Just a guess. Daniel Murphy or DJ LeMahieu?
Daniel Murphy or DJ LeMahieu? I'd go Murphy there. Yeah, I'd go Murphy there.
I would go LeMahieu. I think LeMahieu's one of the better plays on the board tonight. Okay, Soto is now up to 9%, and Hicks is 11%, so that's pretty close.
That's about where I expected them to be. I think those will be two guys that are popular, so I love them both.
Yeah, I could live with Soto now at 9%. 3% does seem very off to me. Like I would have found that hard to believe. GM sends my dong pick was Bryce Harper. I don't know.
Is this a night to punt on pitchers and play the offensive stud in tournaments? Jake, what do you think from a game theory perspective?
No, I'm trying to take safety at pitching tonight, and I think there are enough good bats at various price points that you can get it done. I'd like to get Sale and Verlander in as much as possible, or Clevenger, so I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah, so I think that the move probably from a GPP perspective based on our ownership and kind of what we've landed on from talking for the last hour, I think the move for a GPP perspective is to go with mid-priced bolt of everything. So you're probably trying to find, like a national stack with a, Peralta, maybe Hamels, I don't know, tier kind of guy. And then you're trying to go with like the mid-priced Nationals, Braves, maybe stacks. So I think that's what's going to be the right choice. But, if you get that next 9 minutes, follow your heart. I think that's the move. Let's see, what else? Any good questions, chat? Send it in. We have 9 minutes left before we all walk into our demise.
Yeah.
So the 100K tournament didn't go well for you?
What's that?
The 100K DraftKings tournament yesterday didn't.
I didn't play it. Josh played it, and he said it didn't go.
That's what I heard on the street this morning.
No, he said it didn't.
Yeah,
go
no, I think Josh got rocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh Mack centered that, so I think he didn't have a great night.
No, he didn't.
I didn't do great, but I made like half of what I put in back, which I feel like pulling the take for those kind of big shots. I wish there were $100,000 tournaments though. Surprised that we don't have them more for MLB, because NBA had one like every day.
Well, like it's just such bad payout structure. Like, is 100K to first, and then seventh place out of like 70,000 got like $1,000. So it's hard to get people to play those. Like, I don't want to play that.
It was filled though. I think they were more worried about it getting filled than it actually was. I feel like anytime you have one of those like $3 to $5 range tournaments with a big prize, I've never seen one of those not fill. I'd rather have those every day than stupid rally caps where I'm putting in not enough.
That's fair. I don't know. It just depends on, like, everybody wants the 100K up top, but also, like, if you finish 10th, you're not even winning $1,000 for beating 71,000 other people. So it just needs to be flatter payout structure, in my opinion. But
probably less raked.
Yeah.
Would you go Herman and Vinny Velasquez or Soroka and Vinny Velasquez? This guy's locked in on Vinny Velasquez.
Herman.
Also, like shortening Vince to Vinny rather. Like, it's already a shortened name. Captain Jank's supposed to be very familiar with Vince Velasquez.
Right.
How about Freddie and Domingo and Herman on DK as a pitching duo? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like it. Two guys that have talent that are missing a ton of bats. So what's not to like?
I agree. I think that's an interesting point, and I think that's sort of what I was thinking in terms of game theory that might be helpful, is going to guys in that Freddie, Domingo, Herman tier. I think might be the move. I don't know if it's those two guys. Like, I think we also talked about Luke Weaver at all. I know you don't like Luke Weaver, but the matchup could fit him pretty well with the Phillies striking out so much. I mean, they're volatile. They can rig them or they might get rocked. But there's guys in that tier who can be valuable, I think, that are being omitted in terms of both our analysis and the industry's. So.
Sure.
Trumbo, how do you feel about the Orioles? We haven't talked about them at all. They stink, but we talked about targeting them. Any chance of the Orioles stack being interesting tonight?
I'm not playing any Orioles stacks. I mean, if you think, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even want to recommend the Orioles. Like, I don't think they're a good play. But
Jeffrey does have the highest xFIP on the slate and gives up the most hard contact. So I would say that if you were to play an Orioles stack, and like Jake is saying, more if you have a bunch of lineups, I think then maybe throwing in one with the 2 through 7. I would consider omitting Machado and go, not that you need to, because it's not like that's going to be chalky, but like Jones, Trumbo, Skilp, Valencia, Trey Mancini could be interesting, I think, versus Jeffrey. Jeffrey is a guy who I'm the most worried about tonight, more than Paul Blackburn.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel great about Jeffrey either, but that's where we're at. Like, this pitching sucks here. It's tough.
That is where we're at. That's the best way to put it. Like, I don't feel great about it. That's where we're at. That sums up tonight's slate. Justin Smoke on DK. Okay play, though we don't love the Toronto stack, right, Jake?
I don't love the Toronto stack.
Yeah, I don't love it. I think if you like Smoke, though, I think Smoke's okay. I just don't think that it's a great matchup on the other side.
Yeah.
Sean Kemp, the greatest in-game dunker of all time. Sure. I don't know why you're making that take, Gink, but I support it. Nico Goodrum and Derek Rodriguez or Leonis Martin and Blackburn for a DK single entry.
Nico Goodrum and who was the other guy?
Direct Rodriguez.
Ooh, man. So I like Leonis and Derek Rodriguez. So I would probably go Goodrum and Derek Rodriguez. I don't like Blackburn, so.
I would go Leonis and Blackburn because I believe it's great if you get Blackburn into the lineup. And Todd, you can go down the ship with me. I'll be playing the violins as we hit the iceberg. Paul Blackburn is leading us on to. Let's see. Jeffrey went against the Braves for 4 innings. You're not too worried. Yeah, I mean, look, he did get rocked by a team who is very good. So, and he's against a team now who's not that good. So, decent chance, but Jeffrey worries me. I'm playing him, but he worries me.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do you feel like you don't have enough of right now, stack-wise?
Stack-wise or pitcher-wise? Because I'm having trouble with the optimizer, and it is I don't have enough sales, so I had to put in a mishmash of lineups. So that kind of sucks, but we'll see. Stack-wise,
the one downside for this stream.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel pretty good about my bats. What about you? Do you feel like you don't have enough of something?
So I didn't get to Arizona at all, and I do feel like targeting Felix Pena might be a spot that'll be profitable tonight. I don't know. Last night they were pretty okay. My particular Diamondback stack didn't go off, but tonight could be a good Jake Lamb night. Wouldn't surprise me. Tonight could be a good Goldschmidt night. I think Peralta looks pretty good. John Jay has been pretty good as well lately and looks good tonight. I think that 1 through 5 for Arizona, I should have at least had one of. So I worry a little bit about that. Everything else I feel okay about. I don't know. There's something here that's tricky tonight, which I think we're missing. I'm wondering what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue how this slate's going to go. I just hope I win money at the end of the night. I hope our viewers win money at the end of the night because this is one of the weirdest ones I can remember for 15 games.
Yeah, it's true. For 15 games, it does feel like we have sort of limited options.
Yeah.
You guys got 1 minute left, so get your lineups in. Any last emergency questions, drop them. maybe Reds, Angels, and Yankees for DJ Kev.
Yeah,
I don't mind those teams.
I ended up with way too much Jeffrey, like 40%, because I couldn't get the right lineups I wanted in. So if you're watching at home, if you need a reason not to MME, then the optimizer could just stop working after at 6:40 Eastern, and then you're screwed.
Well, you know what? I went on the Paul Blackburn boat, and I did that without an optimizer. So I did that by choice, and I have like 50% Blackburn. So we'll see. We're both gonna have a tough night, I think. But
yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe Jeffrey will be the key, but he is locked in right now, and I feel terrible about it. So we'll see.
I think it's a perfect way to end the stream. It sums up all of our feelings that we've had throughout this hour. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that. We have these videos every day. Josh and Jake are on in the morning doing the MLB strategy video. We have Josh's quick hits, or the quick hits rather, that Josh is doing every day, as well as Jake's Night Shift podcast, which will be up later, which Jake is going to slate before anybody else in the world is giving you all those things that you need to know. So go subscribe now. If you're not a premium member of Awesemo.com, get on board, because all the things that we reference and we use to build our lineups are available to you, and you can use them at your fingertips and be better at DFS, and that's the goal every single day that we're doing the stream and creating content. So go sign up on Awesemo.com, become a premium member. Jake, any parting words before we walk off to our impending doom?
Oh, good luck. Enjoy your Jeffrey Rodriguez. Enjoy your Paul Blackburn. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, you guys will be back tomorrow. And then tune into the MLB strategy video and check out the Night Shift tonight.
Cool. Yep. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you again soon.